pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Kim Kroll,
Here.
Richard Setlick,
Here?
Patricia Sims-Surmachek.
Here.
Ken Gambala is absent. Robert Kometz is not here. Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
And Dave Westland.
Present.
Alrighty, and I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the April 20th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 No one opposed? Motion carries. Alrighty, next item on the agenda is to consider the sewer credit in the amount of $9.90 for a Mark Hayer in reference to his property at 9457 Woodlawn Avenue. He installed landscaping and the water did not go down the sewer system. So, any questions on the documentation that we've received?
Nope.
No.
Alrighty, so I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the $9.90 sewer credit for Mr. Hayek at 9457 Woodlawn Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the sewer credit in the amount of $118.72 for Mr. William Wisniewski at 9202 West 103rd Place in reference to his outdoor water running, and he was not aware of it. Any questions on this?
No.
No.
Okay, I just have one point of reference with this. We have to be, going forward, we have to be careful with this because not to impugn this gentleman's honesty and integrity, but it could have been a running toilet, it could have been a faulty water softener. I have no reason not to believe him, but going forward, we have to be careful with these sewer credits because unfortunately, things do come up before us that are not what they appear. So, all right, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the sewer credit for $118.72 for Mr. Wisniewski.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, any reports and correspondence? I have none. All righty, so we move forward for the payment of the bills. First, we will attend to the sanitary district. For the sanitary district, I have a docket for $16,449.68. I will entertain a motion for approval of such.
Also move.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, for the wastewater district, I would like to add one item to the docket that we have documentation for. The clerk's office was unable to add this to the docket at the last minute. It came in late Friday. Everyone has received the correspondence from Haas and Associates in reference to pay request number 2 from Grimmer Construction. And on said documentation, it says that Haas has verified the work completed by Grimmer Construction and believe this pay application requests to be a complete and accurate accounting of the project costs. So, Mr. Westland, do we need a motion to approve adding this to the docket?
You can either add it to the docket or you can just do a separate motion to approve that one separately. It's really up to you. I would probably just do it separately, though.
Okay, we'll do it separately. All righty. So that notwithstanding, the docket that we've all received for the wastewater district for all the APVs dated May 18th, 2021 is $720,935.67. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, I will entertain a motion for a separate pay authorization. Reference Haas and Associates correspondence in the amount of $292,459.35.
Also move.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. All righty, and any public comment? Do we have any written correspondence in for any public
I have to get
questions?
my 2 cents in.
Okay,
Just on this, this payment, I want to state, I'll still be looking forward to a final, like, statement from Haas anyway about the final amounts on the contract. We've approved so much. This doesn't add up to the total we approved and what everything after Oliver is all said and done.
yeah, he does have a final checklist he has to go through, and he does have an order coming with an explanation of any costs and things, so we
Yeah,
can
I
have
just like it to
documentation.
reconcile with the amount that we contracted for,
Yeah, so
so.
if necessary, then he will be available at the next month's meeting via teleconference, via Zoom, to answer any and all
That's fine.
questions. Okay? So we'll get everything ironed and put away. All right, any other just open discussion?
There's, yes, of course there is. Anyway, my ongoing thing, I found out some stuff since the last time I was looking at infiltration. I've sent some things to Bob Boulais and to Wayne, but that was just today. And initial looking at with information coming from the Public Works, basically comparing water in and water out. And in 2020, let's see, for December, wrapping up the year, yes, we paid for 37.6 million gallons more in wastewater than we processed in water, which amounted to $157,546. All of that to me is considered infiltration, because there shouldn't be anything. So that's like $150,000 we could, some amount we should be able to save. It's not recover, because it went into the system. I'm not saying any of the metering from Sherrville is wrong. We just have water leaking in. It's like, in a way, it's like accounting for a reverse leak. Looking at some stuff, that's maybe a couple dozen holes, 2-3 inches in diameter, leaking water all the time. But there were some months, and then the interesting part is most of that occurs in the first, definitely within the first 5 months. In January of 2020, of that 37 million, there was 22 million was over. We pumped 49 million from the water plant, but the sewer water treated was 72 million, which is 45% difference, which is a lot. But that's, like I said, January, February, March. Those were the high ones. And then it tapers off, which might give some inkling, which we'll go over with them about you and Bob and whoever, but where that may be coming from. It looks like 21 here is a similar pattern. The amounts are always going to change, but it doesn't relate to watering the grass because the months are off. It doesn't really account for, these things also reflect precipitation amounts
Right.
in Sherrville. No real relationship there.
What did Mr. Davis recommend? Did he recommend anything?
Didn't
or-
get that far yet.
Okay,
So I'm just presenting this as far as to put some numbers or some metrics on the degree of the problem. Just saying, I think there are some leaks going into the system. Yeah, nobody's going to disagree with that.
there's always been infiltration, but
Right, but how much? Well, this comes out, looking at it, if you go on the basic premise that we should never be paying for more sewage than water that we pump into the system.
ideal world, you're right.
It should always be less.
Yeah.
Because we sweat, we do everything, all the water doesn't go back in. It should always be less. And when it's more, you have something. What degree it's more?
Is
That's,
there a way to test the system?
that has to be discussed. There's always a
They
way.
use smoke and stuff, but that's
Cameras.
expensive too.
It's a matter of evaluating where's the make or break in cost versus yield kind of thing. Where these, or if you find it, yes, it's going, but this, to me, going at certain times a year, to me, it's like some places the water levels are up and it's seeping in somewhere, or flowing in, and then those water levels go down and it's no longer leaking, because the other months it's down. So I don't know, but these are all areas we'll discuss later. Here it's all conjecture.
And it's hard to find those places if they are leaking, and it's expensive. But then you have a sewer line that's going from 85th and Alexander, which is ours, and that goes all the way straight into Sheriffville. You don't know if that's leaking. I mean, there's leakage somewhere. And if you look when we have a lot of rain, you'll see all the little red lights on the lift stations,
Oh.
because that means water. The water level's high. The wet wells are high.
Well-
But how do you find that, and how do you fix it? It's expensive.
Well, there's a thing though, but how much extra can you pay? If it's already going at about $157,000 for a year, are you willing to just eat that cost? Or do you want to do something, do you want to spend $50,000 to maybe explore where some of this might be? And if you can plug a few holes and cut that down by $75,000, you're still going to have some, you're never going to get it all. I'm not
That's
saying
not going to
that.
be perfect, no.
But it's a matter of when you have a month that you're, what did I say? You're pumping 49.7 million gallons from the water plant into the system. But the sewer treated is 72.2 million. So from 49.7 to 72.2. That is a big difference. And it's like, if that repeats, that's almost every day. There's one day in January where the amount did not exceed what was put into the system. Every day we're paying more for sewage than we were pumping in water into the system. So it's relatively close. If it doesn't go into the system, it should just go into surface drainage and storm sewers or whatever. It doesn't get into sanitary. But anyway, it's looking at that, and there's a potential to recover some things. We're always talking about money, but there's some money in-house, and we're paying it out. Cherville's not doing anything wrong. I look at their metering, it's fine. We have more going in than we should. And so it.
This is a good starting point. I'd be interested to see
Yeah.
what Public Works can put together, doing the last 3 years. Let's do last year and then do the 2 years before that.
Of course they have,
Break
that's
it
not a big
down.
deal. Yeah.
Break it down, see if it's getting progressively worse. This is a good starting point.
Because in looking at it, I only looked at those days, because it doesn't even out.
And not that many people are watering their grass, you know.
They're watering grass.
January, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't enter it at all, because
Yeah.
the grass watering months, it's well under. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Interesting to see January infiltration,
January, February, yeah.
yeah.
In,
I'd be interested to see what the previous years,
well, in January
Public
of,
Works can print that out and maybe put something together.
Yeah, I don't know if that comes from Public Works or from the clerk's office, but,
Okay,
no, there's Public Works.
We'll see
Jerry
what-
Jerry
yeah.
has it, because I got these from her.
okay.
So they were just, I added a couple columns. I mean, this isn't any stuff I made up, it was their numbers.
Yeah, you're going off of their numbers.
And so it's just a little bit of math, the gross infiltration. The ones where it's less, I looked at those are okay. That's what you expect, to be
Right.
less. Those don't enter into it at all. These are just looking at the ones that are over what we pumped in terms of the water.
and if there is a hole or something, if the infiltration is getting worse, if we could show a period over the last 3 years coming to date, then
Well, that's why I
it
said
gives us homework.
that's all I was looking at, is to see, to add some metrics to see, is this significant to explore more? I think it is.
Okay.
Based on stuff that will nickel and dime in here about stuff, we talked about $9.90.
157,000 is a lot of nickels and dimes.
Right, and it's recurring.
Yeah.
Because you take care of that problem, if it's done right, and it doesn't leak again, in those, it goes on. You get that next year.
Be interesting to see a 3-year period, though, so,
Sure. But I mean, and saying on savings, but it's a little bit like going in, we contracted with Sherrville, like a meat market. You're buying a pound of ground beef. They put it up there. They say a pound, and it's like, you don't notice the thumb is on the scale. And they say, well, it's a pound and a half. Is that okay? Yeah, sure, that's fine. No, you got a pound. You paid for a pound and a half. So this water is going in is the thumb, and we're doing it to ourselves.
right.
So I think it's incumbent upon ourselves to look and approach the problem, and saying, like most things, infiltration, if it's going on, most of the time, if there's a hole or leakage, leaks don't generally get better. Well, they get better because they get bigger over time. They don't get smaller. So,
Okay. Well, it gives
and
us,
it's just to approach the problem. And then the other thing has been a thing which was about the allocation of stuff to sanitary and everything else. There's some things I found very interesting. I don't know why nobody ever mentioned it to me before, but anyway, it's Town Ordinance 1720, which is out there. And it basically gives the allocations for everybody. So basically, between water and sewer, we pay about 2/3 of the Public Works Director's salary.
correct, it's split in three, correct.
We pay 2/3.
Yeah.
And so some of that, I look at, maybe we should be getting some information about what's being done for that, because all the employees, too. I mean, we have people in Parks and Recreation that we're paying for. We're paying for people in planning, paying for people in the clerk's office. And it's by edict, and that's fine, but some of it is like, are we getting our money's worth, kind of thing. It's kind of looked at, always hearing about, we do stuff for sanitary. Well, what do you do? And somebody says, well, nobody's actually figured it out. But if you look at some of these allocation things, some of them are going down to like 1.78% coming from this account or that account on this salary stuff. You don't get down to 1.78% without something. Nobody comes up with it's could be 2% or 3%.
What is the date of that ordinance?
That was 24th day of November, 2020.
Okay.
Time everybody, including, Panzak was here, of course. All town members and Beth. It's 14 pages long. There's one basically every year. It's out there.
So what you're requesting is each department head justify that employee's time relative to
No, not justify.
our billing?
At this point, I'd like to find out, well, what's being done for our 33%?
33% of what? For the Public Works Director?
Yeah,
Well, the Public Works Director does a lot. He's assigning,
I hear that.
but he's out there doing proof rolls. He's out there doing the Pfizer checks. He's working with the engineers. And I know you talk about the 1.78%, but there's some positions that are paid that, and then 50% here, 30% there, 10% there. But that's how that's been for quite some time.
Well, I know. I'm asking for the basis of that allocation of time. Because you have the Public Works, there's only 2% that goes to motor vehicle and highway. So I look at it, the roads only get about 2% of his time that everybody complains about. But yet 2/3 of his time, suppose it goes to water and sanitary. That doesn't seem realistic to me.
Okay, but going forward, I don't know, it's our job to get involved in the human relations part of job duties.
not human relations. All I'm asking for is some idea at town board meetings. The fire department chief shows up and says how many calls they did this, they did that. The police shows up. Could we get somebody to say, okay, on sanitary, hey, we made these many service calls, we did this, we replaced so many meters, something.
I'm sure Mr. Davis would do that if we requested it of him.
But it's like, that would give me a better idea of what is going on. I hear nothing, I see all these things. There's a thing like the water meters. I go along with that. I mean, I asked Beth, she said, well, they're used for wastewater measuring too. I said, no, they're not.
Well, they go by what you use, like if you use
It forms-
10,000 gallons, and a percentage of that goes towards your wastewater.
No, it's the same way. You're charged wastewater based, the basis of your wastewater charges is the water you take in. It is not actually measuring the wastewater out, because as I've already said, the wastewater does not equal.
But there's a
Water comes in.
percentage. Your water bill is always cheaper, and then the wastewater is more
I'm not-
expensive.
You don't understand. I'm talking about the meters and what they actually do. Wastewater is non-pressurized. I think the water meters are pressurized water. I don't think they're measuring the stuff that's going out your drain.
They're measuring so much water coming in, but then there's
Exactly, stop. And that is used as the basis for determining your wastewater.
right.
But it's not your wastewater.
But you have to have the meter so you can justify that cost
Billing.
for the billing.
It's just a
Did
billing
you hear what I said
matrix.
first? She said it measures the wastewater.
Right.
It measures your incoming water,
Right.
which is used as a basis to compute your wastewater.
Right.
It is not your wastewater because otherwise it wouldn't be necessary to do a summertime adjustment. If it was the wastewater being measured, you don't need to do an adjustment during the summer because it's already metered.
Right, no,
Right?
wastewater is not metered, but for billing purposes,
Hold on.
it's.
Wasn't getting
no,
there.
Let me finish. If you have 1,000 gallons, you
I
have X
understand all
amount for
that.
water, and
I'm
then
not-
they bill you sewer.
Hold on. I'm talking about the meters. And all I said was, I got the answer that it's measuring wastewater. It thus forms the basis for for billing for wastewater. It's not your actual wastewater.
Right, it measures water, measures incoming water,
Correct.
period.
And saying, okay, because of that, using that as a basis then, does that then obligate us to pay for half of that meter?
You're questioning the billing of the meters.
It brought up, I'm letting it go, just like the salaries. I look at things should be allocated based on what they actually are, to even things out. I don't know what people are doing, but a third of their pay or two-thirds of their pay is going by ordinance, is going into sewers and water. Two-thirds of their pay. That's the way it's allocated. And people complain about the roads, but yet our public works manager only spends 2%. By this thing, 2% motor vehicle and highway. So I guess if somebody says you're not doing anything, based on that, they're correct.
Well, our public works people and our director does a whole lot. You're making it sound like
Not based on what they're paid and who they're paid by.
well, I'll take our public works department and our public works director and stand them up against any town. We do a good job. And now you're questioning their
No.
ability?
I am not. I am not. I'm not questioning anything. I'm just questioning about what do they do for that? We never hear about it.
Well, going forward, it
The
might,
fire department reports in what they do. The police department reports in. We did this, we did that. We made these many calls, this and that.
so
Do we ever hear about how many calls come in about sewer problems?
going forward, it might behoove us to ask Mr. Davis or his staff to put a short, concise report, how many calls for service they had in reference to broken water mains or
Whatever.
replacing meters, how many meters they installed for the month, things like
Or
that.
fixing
New
leaks.
construction,
Some kind of metrics
and
going on.
overall,
Right.
So,
And
So
but
would you want them to come to this meeting
No.
or
Have to.
to a town council meeting?
I'll,
Or just have a report for you that you can look at?
I think something that says, here's a report of what we did.
I think what is being said is because we pay the lion's share of that department's
Between water and sewer, they can put it on the
salary-
same thing. What did you do for water and sewer?
salary and benefit costs, if they could put together a single sheet for the month, this is what was done. Because 2/3 of public works salaries, benefits, et cetera, come out of water and sewer, wastewater and sewer, or sanitary. So if they could put together a short, concise report, no details necessary, no addresses, none of that, just,
Part of it is getting information. I don't think we should sit here and have to say, what is this thing, because you brought it up last time. What's this thing Ferguson?
Ferguson is a,
Hold on. She brought it up last time because we hadn't seen it. We didn't know it was coming. Nothing else. Nobody said anything to us.
I think Ferguson's always been on your docket.
Isn't
And,
it
and you've
other
been on
thing?
the board for 15 years, I think, so
Right.
nothing's really changed, as you've been approving it all these times. I understand you want to know what Ferguson is. Ferguson is the distributor for the meters.
Let me be honest with you. I proved it. I didn't know what it was. I've been asking for a number of years about details on how these things are allocated, and I never got an answer.
Well, looking at this, you got Ferguson
I
Waterworks.
still have one. I come up with an answer of a town ordinance, and now it's a matter I'm getting chastised more or less because now I'm saying people aren't doing things. I'm not. You signed the ordinance. You agreed to this. That's fine. But is it wrong to find out what I didn't know was that high a percentage?
and I'm sure the Public Works does keep a running tally of everything that they do for the month. Whether it's a water.
I think they have a good idea,
Yeah, a
yeah.
water meter change out,
Well-
a new water install, a broken water main,
Don't they assign people to do stuff?
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Okay.
So right now, I can tell you, we have approximately 5,711 meters in meters and registers, the new ones, called Allegro, which is on here. Every time we spend $5,400 for registers, for where it says MM Allegro under glass, we're saving $2,000. Well, so if we take 10,800, we're saving $4,680. That's through agreements that Public Works and Master Meter have come up with to get into this new program. So in a course of, since we started this in January 15th of 2015, we have saved approximately $234,000 for the town. You want to know where all this stuff is going, but it's kind of hard to go through all of this. If you want the request to purchase and everything, you can have a stack of papers like
I
this.
didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that at all.
But
But I was told that they went to the town council to make this purchase before coming here. Now, you had to come here first to get us to approve to do the stuff on 41. The town council didn't just take it and do it.
All right.
And the SCADA stuff comes to us. We go have meetings, we have duplicate meetings, we go back and forth to do it here before it goes to the council. Now we have $100,000 worth of meters, we don't have to hear anything about it, that just goes straight to the council. I find that to be, it's like, what's going on? Who decides what comes here and what goes there? Is there a path? Do we just go this way when it's convenient? We go that way when it's convenient. And that's all, it's like, follow the same thing. We get stuff that goes to the, redevelopment commission for this rerouting, I don't know why. Then all of a sudden it comes to us as a big hurry, a year later, we're still dealing with it. There was no big hurry.
Wayne, could it be because we don't have a town manager to act as a air
Some
traffic
of that
controller?
is the town manager.
Routing this stuff?
The state threw that on us right away real quick, and you got to get it done. Now, how are you going to put a water main in? You got to advertise, and it's winter time, so they gave us till April.
No. I'm not talking about the water main.
You're talking about the process.
I'm talking about the rerouting on 41. We just talked about it being settled and making the payment. That came up in May of last year.
That
It
was
came-
on the Grimmer project.
Correct.
That was started out with $333,000.
Right, it came up, this is a big hurry, this is a rush, gotta do it, state wants it. And time said, okay, gotta do this, da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, I'm saying, a year later, we're still waiting. We just talked about it. That's not a big rush. I think there were 60-day time limits and this and that. How is it? Did we hear about progress? Not until now. We get no reports of percentage of completion. Oh, it's going along fine. Oh, we got another change order. Well, change order doesn't sound like it's going along fine. You ran into a change order. But I mean, we're asked to, I'm looking at, to look at the monies and saying, well, what's it going for? That's all I'm saying. And why is that ours?
Okay, well,
A company name, I don't understand. A company name, and is it for this? And we split the water meter cost with the waterworks. That's what it amounts to.
But getting to that, there was an item on the docket today that I had a question about. I called Bob Davis this morning. He explained it to me. He was not aware that we don't see the entire invoice for obvious reasons. We would have a stack of paper 12 inches high. He offered to bring me over the invoice to my house to explain it. But going forward, the way he explained it, because it's valve and meter couplings they had to buy 400 new water meters because of future growth and replacing water meters. It's a justifiable expense.
It wasn't an emergency though, was it?
But the way yes, it is, because if they don't have them in stock,
Wait a
and
minute, you don't look ahead?
The-
These are for future, right? So they don't need them today. They're for the future.
But-
That was coming, so they knew it.
but there is a shortage of meters. There's brass is going up, copper's going up. They order 300 to 400
I'm saying it's still
at
a planned
time.
purchase.
Yeah,
It's
they
kind of
do
like
it-
you buy a loaf of bread today. Does that mean you're going to make 12 sandwiches today?
They,
It's planned,
do this
when they
every
bought
year.
those 400 check valves, they looked at what we did last year for permits. We did 411. They're projecting 500 this year. So they said, what do you think? I said, order 400 because you might not get them. And we save money by ordering on a quantity.
so that's where they have
Okay.
it.
And then when you have contractors coming in, they want.
You understand that we don't know anything about any of that process. None of it. All we see is one little item on a docket sheet.
Right. But
You understand that?
my-
You get a credit card bill with that kind of thing on there, do you call? What is this?
But my point, Rich, is I did call, and I got an explanation.
You did.
Right,
Because you had a question.
right. Which he is open to any of us calling and asking a question. But getting back to your original point, we can ask Public Works to give us a single sheet overview of the month. What exactly, their calls for service, what water, road, water,
That's all I'm looking
wastewater.
at, something about what they're doing. I'm sitting here paying for bills. I have no idea what this stuff is going for, or the plan, or going forward, or anything else. Is that a whole lot to say? Because otherwise, what are we doing? I spend a lot of time, more or less, signing off on things. And you said it a number of times, like, well, we're committing, we're gonna be held if we sign off on this stuff and it's wrong. I don't know if it's right or wrong, I don't know what the heck it is.
Do you want to arrange for a sit-down with Mr. Davis and the water superintendent so he can explain?
Well, they can ask.
a lot of
I mean,
these
I'm looking at it, I don't know if anybody else wants to go for that. Or wants it or thinks it's necessary.
Well, they're available. If we request it, I know they would be available.
I mean, I brought up this infiltration stuff years ago. Years ago. It's like, and this stuff, does anybody look to see any numbers? I'm sure they've been getting these numbers all along.
We can look back 3 years on that and take a closer look at it to see if
Well, I'm
it's
saying that
progressively
if-
getting worse.
If things, some of this stuff I look at should be looked at on a regular basis. Are you getting what you're paying for? Are you getting the biggest bang for the dollar? I look at that's one of the duties of boards like this and everybody else that's approving. It's other people's money. And, I do it for myself. I review my own bills, especially like credit card bills. Are those all mine? I've caught some, I called up, said, no, it's not. They'll say, fine, we're not going to charge you. I'll go back to the thing, you overcharged me. I'll do it. It's not a big deal. Because I look at it, that's my money. And I look at some of this stuff, it's the town's money. And you put it here, well, if you got it, it can be put somewhere else and maybe do something else.
But like Wayne said.
That's all I'm looking at.
But
And
Wayne-
saying,
Like Wayne said, by them entering into that agreement with Ferguson and Master Meter, they saved the town
We saved the town a lot of money.
$2,400 on a $5,400 bill. So they are being proactive. They are looking for the most bang for the buck. But I think your question is, you don't know what that line item means. What is it?
right, you're mixing up the context here about the whole thing, and it's going around in circles. And it's going down, anytime I ask about stuff, it goes into pumps and this and that. I'm not talking about bits and pumps and everything, but it's a matter of, what is anybody doing? I'm sitting here about this and that, and I'm hearing about registration tags and all this stuff. I think, why did they order them? If this is part of a plan that you order things, fine. Can anybody say that ahead of time? So when we see the bill, say, okay, that makes sense. And then why do some things come to us and we have to strain for approvals on things and go back and forth? Is this okay? Is that okay? And can we do that? And then other things just come flying right through. Oh, town council approved that. I'm looking for some consistency in the way things flow. Are things supposed to flow through us to the council? Or can they bypass us at will, and then we just approve the things, but nobody tells us the council did it? Had no idea the council approved anything for payment of any water meters. Nobody says anything. And I'm sitting here, I feel like an idiot.
Going forward, we'll be getting a new town manager. A lot of this
Well-
should be coming across their desk.
Okay, let's
But
hold
that-
on, new town manager, we had one of those already.
But
That
that
didn't
is-
work out so good.
That is why we also have department heads, that we rely on their integrity to make sure all of this is being done correctly. That's why they are put in place.
Right.
We don't question the police department, we don't question the fire department, and I'm sure those same things come up, if they have to order hose couplings for the fire department.
Yeah, but a bank teller who's been there for 20 years still gets her cash drawer counted every shift when she leaves. Even though they
When-
trust her, she's been there forever.
When all these
So
bills
the
come
integrity-
through, the request to purchase, the clerk's
Not looking
office
for the requ-
has a system they go through. It ain't just one person, it's 3 or 4 people. They check and double check each other. So it's not that
No.
the money's getting
Hold on.
misspent.
No. Beth told me differently. She said, Bob over there puts your appropriation numbers on there for where they go.
Right.
She doesn't. When I asked about splits, talk to him, not her. So they process the paper. I don't disagree with that. It's a mattering up, purchase orders with receiving reports or whatever they do. I don't know if they do that or not. But they pay the bills. I don't know if they do it on the phone. It shouldn't be a big deal. Businesses, everybody's been doing that for ages and ages and ages.
So
Under the category of internal controls.
this is more like it's a personnel, starts with a personnel matter and then it escalates from that.
No, it's not a personnel matter. It's an information matter. It's a matter of, what do we know? We come in here cold. Every time we don't know what's coming on the docket. We have nothing that anybody's doing anything. There's any big purchases coming, nothing. We know, anybody know how much we pay for wastewater? What's the rate?
I'd guess. And
Really? You don't know? Do you know?
I don't remember, but I know,
That's as well as you don't know.
yeah.
Kim, I doubt it.
Okay.
Well, it won't be in the agreement, I'll tell you that. Where it is, you have to look on the invoice.
Okay, what do you
It's
recommend?
$1.77 per thousand.
All right, what do you recommend? Going forward, what are you
It's a matter
asking
of,
for?
of knowing.
Getting to the bottom line, what do you want?
I'd like to know what people are doing. What you said, a little report progress, what we're doing stuff. And then it's a matter, if we come in and we get a whole bunch of complaints, people say, well, people aren't, I called and called and called, and nobody came out. somebody shows up. I mean, we had this one guy about his water, surface water. He gets directed to us. We don't deal with the storm water.
But we
But
also,
he got directed to you by the last town manager, which was wrong because you deal in wastewater.
But he
was
also went.
dealing with
he also-
stormwater.
He also went to the public works manager.
And then that got taken care of.
Well, I don't know. It didn't before he got to us, because it came here.
but we also, if some personnel isn't doing their job, it is not our job to correct that.
No, but if we hear complaints, if we sit here and we have some evidence that, no, they've been making these calls, that we know they've been going out, they've been doing things, that if we hear saying, no, we've been swamped, yeah, we saw you had 20 calls last month. And this guy is, to a 23rd, or this was going on, or that was going on. Or you were off into doing something else because you do multiple stuff, and this tornado went through, so you're out clearing trees. So you're not doing anything with checking somebody's sewer line or whatever. So they had to wait a little bit because you're doing something else.
So we're gonna request from Mr. Davis a simple overview of their activity for the month, starting.
It can even be for both water and us.
Right.
Because I look at those two as kind of linked.
Right,
I mean, it makes it kind of difficult to have us in two things.
Yeah.
They seem to be, they
And I
fit better
think-
into one.
personally, it'd be interesting for me to, I did not know that we put in 411 water meters last year,
It was 411 permits.
permits.
And that could have been 600 meters
Right.
because some houses have
Two.
2 meters.
like I do. So that kind of thing is, we probably should know
By the
that.
way, were those replacement meters?
On what?
The 400 meters.
No,
So those new construction.
411 meters is new construction.
Oh, okay.
So that's a brand-new meter.
Right.
The meters that don't send out a signal, they're still functioning, we put a register on. So that, we save money that way. We're not pulling out the meter, we're saving money by putting a register on.
But-
And we're also upgrading the system to the new Allegro system that we have.
Don't you replace the meters too? Periodically? You replace mine.
Well, we replaced yours, if I remember right, because you had a Badger meter, which was a black plastic one. So we had to upgrade that system, and that originally in 2001 was hooked up to a Raymar system. So,
Well, somebody's saying, I
If
thought
it
one
needs
time
to
I
be
heard that
replaced.
the batteries in there for sending out the signals only last about 10 years.
yeah, but the
And the
meter
things have
still
to be
works.
replaced.
It won't send the signal out to you, and you won't do
No,
the,
hold on. I'm just saying, something has to be replaced and serviced after a period
and
of
we
time
usually, it's the registers now.
on a meter.
Right, if it's a 3G, we replace it with a register to make
But
it
what you were
4G.
doing, the 400 meters was for growth,
For growth, yes.
not for regular maintenance.
Right.
Those are two
Once in
different
a
things.
while, we would replace the meter if it had to be replaced, so that's very seldom. But most of that 411,
It led me astray, because you were going, oh, no, I do
Oh, yeah.
about 3 or 4 of these meters a day, going on and switching them out.
The
in
registers.
switching them out, Rich, when I switched yours out, I could go back in the records, I would almost guarantee you had a Badger meter. And that's why I said we go 3 or 4 meters a day with that.
Okay, but
All I'm saying is, okay,
we are way,
perfect example of what I get in terms of information, in terms of the way things really are. There is regular maintenance on them things, you verified that. The 400 is for new construction, it doesn't deal with existing stuff. Two different categories. New
Right.
construction is depending on how much growth there's gonna be. If they aren't building and people aren't moving in, you're not gonna need new meters. So if everything comes to a dead stop, your 400 for new construction is gonna sit there, right? Because you're not gonna put them in, because nobody's building. Right?
They'll sit there, right?
Right. So your good deal, if they aren't used in something like that in retrospect, is not that good.
Some meters take a long time, Rich, and if you're buying a house and the town of St. John can't provide you a meter because we try to be too frugal about it, and this happened in another town, they didn't have meters. So people are buying a house. How are you gonna buy a house without a water meter?
No, you're getting down to minutia, and I'm not. So I'm looking at an overall thing about what's going on. Whether it's 400 or 411 or 506 or whatever, to me, I don't determine that. To me, that should have some idea based on what's been approved and what's scheduled to be built and all that kind of stuff.
But we have
you-
checklists too to see what's going on. I can go to Public Works and I can see how many new houses are in line now that are gonna need a meter. You have to look at that and order
That's what I
appropriately.
just said. That's what I just said.
Right, but you have to order appropriately.
But there are things, I mean, a subdivision goes along, and usually they take 10 years to develop out. I mean, it's like the gates of St. John. How long has that been going? It hasn't stopped yet.
Been going on probably since 2004.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting close to 20 years. They still haven't turned it over to the residents, so based on, occupancy, it's not there yet. They got a lot of growth. Now, did somebody buy everything when that thing was set up for the 1,700 homes or whatever? Saying, oh, we got these approved in 1,700 lots and, it's going, you want to buy 1,000 meters? I don't think so.
Now, well, they have a process in place with building permits that are coming in. They know exactly, but we're getting way, 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 way off.
That's all
point.
I'm getting
We-
at.
we
I
will-
said there has to be a process for allocating these things.
Right.
That's all I've ever asked for. And I go off into things about, well, we did this and that. What is the process? Why is that a secret? Why did I have to go
It's
look
not
in
a
here?
secret, it's just no one's ever asked to know it. So we will
I've
ask,
asked here a number of times, I've gotten, well, it's 30, 30, 30. And
Well,
my thing
then-
is like, why?
we need to sit down and ask for a meeting with Mr. Davis so you can be aware of the process.
Well, that's why I gave you
We
that.
don't want to manage Public Works, it's
But
not
that's
our
why I
job.
gave
We
you-
have a department
that's
head
why I
in there
gave
to
you-
manage it.
That's why I gave you the ordinance.
Right.
Which breaks it down
So-
very precisely
We-
in terms of percentages.
We are entitled to get an overview of their activities so we can have
In
some.
the dozen years I've been on here, nobody's ever said anything about that salary ordinance,
Okay.
which
So-
apparently has been going on. But nobody, former, past town managers have bothered to say anything, that's how that's allocated. Because I've asked, what is all this stuff going on here? What are these things for?
All right.
In terms of,
Wayne, will you request that of Mr. Davis, or should we formulate a letter, or what's,
You can formulate a letter, I'll talk with them.
okay.
I'll tell you when we read meters, how many failures we have, how many times we go to a house, high consumption, low consumption. If you want to know all that, that's fine.
Okay, so going forward, we'll start at that point. We're going to start going back 3 years on the infiltration, and then we'll move forward. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
sure do, for me.
A second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.